All right. Welcome back to an episode. It's been a long time, but we're finally back. An episode of Two Plane Sports. A little bit of a different background from the last video that you guys may have seen on Monday morning, the day that Oklahoma officially became part of the SEC. I had a lot of shit in my background. I'm in a new place now. Made a move from Arizona to Texas. Brandon is finally back from his travels. He was out just exploring the country, it seemed like, for about 3 weeks. But we're finally back and excited to talk about football again. It's finally feels like it's football season. NBA finals are over. NHL, for those that are hockey fans, those are over. Uh, the Olympics are right around the corner. We might talk about that every so often, but it's football season basically for us here that are Oklahoma football fans. So we're going to talk about the big commit that Oklahoma landed earlier today on July 1st and four-star wide receiver Cortez Mills, and then just talk about OU's first day as a member of the SEC, some reactions. I got to watch a good bit of the Paul Feinbaum show. Was as tuned in as I could be during work to all that stuff. We're just gonna just talk about what we look forward to. I know we probably talked about it a lot over the last few years in joining the SEC and the build up to this, but it's finally here. We're members of the SEC now. Before we get into everything, let's not forget, like, comment, subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, smash the like button. Help us keep growing. We're back. We're going to try to be as consistent as we can. Life kind of just got in the way, but the plan is to be consistent to how we used to be. But let's get into it. First thing is first, Cortez Mills, four-star. And it seems to be rounding out the wide receiver group for this 2025 class. Top 100 player in the country. I believe he's ranked number 98, if I remember accurately on 247's composite. 6 foot 170. Brandon, kicking over to you because I know you're the stats guy of this show. What do you think of Cortez, and who does he remind you of? If you have to compare him to maybe not an OU wide receiver, but any receiver that you've loved to watch over your many years of watching football.
Football, yeah. Well, his numbers are crazy. That's the first thing that we started talking about before we started recording. Like we did the math on and all that stuff. He had 79 catches for 1,640 yards and 18 touchdowns. So, almost 21 yards a catch on 79 catches. The dude's averaging 2 first downs per reception. That's crazy. It's one of the better high school stat sheets I think we've seen in a long time. He's got really good frame, good size, 6'1", 170. You compared the height and stuff to CeeDee Lamb, which you don't think it now because CeeDee Lamb's a jack dude now. He looks good, but you went and looked it up. When CeeDee Lamb committed, he was listed at 6'1", 170 or 6'2", 172. So, there's only a 2-pound difference and a one inch difference between the two players. But it's a lot to like here. The kid had a lot of offers from all the powerhouses, Clemson, LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss. The list is long. He's highly sought after kid. He wraps up, or not wraps up, but keeps going. What seems to be, we have to be one of the hottest teams in the country. These past couple weeks at least. So it's cool to see that going. Keep going. I think Emmett Jones deserves a whole hell of a lot of credit for what he's doing in that room right now. I think that's 5 or 6 receivers in the 2025 class now, which is kind of crazy. I don't remember us taking that many receivers in a class. You got to think this is probably the end of the receivers in the 2025 class, but you never know. Comparison-wise, it's tough. Come back to me on that. Give me a
You
second
got
to
to
think
think
on
about
that.
it. I'm gonna go with CeeDee Lamb. I told you this before we started recording. Not just because of his build, both of them coming out of high school pretty similar in that 6'1", 6'2" range, 170. As you mentioned, and we talked about it, and anyone that remembers CeeDee Lamb his freshman year, you saw him, and he was impressive. He was a very good football player, but he didn't look like a football player. He was just a really skinny guy that could catch the football really well. And then something happened in that offseason where you noticed a significant difference between, I feel like it was his freshman and his sophomore year. He hit the weight room hard that offseason. If Cortez can do something like that, maybe not his freshman year, but he might not even contribute his freshman year too much. Get some plays here and there, and garbage time. Hopefully, he does get to compete for some significant time throughout the season once he gets to Norman. But if he can take that off season between his freshman and sophomore year and pack on like 15 pounds somehow, 10, 15 pounds, like he has the ability to be good. Because what I liked about watching his highlights uh, and you mentioned his numbers, he makes big plays both by catching the long ball and getting contested catches over defensive backs, but he can also get uh, get yak. Like he can make a short pass go for another 20, 30 yards, maybe even a touchdown. Like he's someone that you can rely on at least so far. And what if you try to project him? Like he's someone that can make a crossing route go for a touchdown, or you can hit him on a go route, and you know that you can be confident enough that he's going to be able to get the ball over any defensive back, both because of his size and his hands. Like one of the big things we've talked about here over the last few years is tall wide receivers in high school are sometimes tough to judge because they can just outsize people. They can catch with their shoulder, their body, and just secure the ball. You don't really know what they're going to be in college because in college you're going against better athletes, bigger people, people that are about your size, probably stronger in some instances, and you just can't catch with your body. Quarterbacks at all levels of football talk about how they want a wide receiver that can catch with their hands, and he is that guy. So again, it's just him packing on enough weight where he's not going to get pushed around and tackled easily, because that can be the one downside to him right now with how light he is.
Yeah, he's got a similar frame to Ryan Broyles. I think too is a guy that he might stay more like that Ryan Broyles type build throughout his college career, which worked out really well for Ryan Broyles at Oklahoma. I was looking at Broyles' stats here a second ago. He had a season in 2010 that's eerily similar to what Cortez Mills did in high school this last year. I get it; it's different levels of ball here, but this the Ryan Broyles season was also 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns. So same amount of yardage, 4 less touchdowns. Different level of play here, but maybe he can do some Ryan Broyles stuff. I think we'd all be okay with that.
We can hope. We can hope. And obviously, we're putting the bar pretty high here for a very talented high school athlete. And if he can become either of those guys while he's in Norman, we're all going to be excited about it. But at this point, we just got to be excited for him getting to Norman. I'm not sure if he's going to be an early enrollee or not. Seems like almost everyone is at this point, unless you play like baseball or basketball at the high school level, which I'm not sure if he does, or even
I
if he
don't
did,
believe
if
he
he will
does.
next season.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't believe he
so
does.
good chance he enrolls in January, so he'll have time to put on a little bit of weight before his first season in Oklahoma. So exciting times for OU on the recruiting front, and there's still way more to come. Omarion Robinson's a guy that Oklahoma's heavily trending for here at the end of the week after the 4th of July holiday. On the 6th, I believe, is when he's committing. So could be a big weekend for Oklahoma as well on the recruiting front. At least that's what it's trending towards. Of course, we're going to talk about it in our next video whenever we can record that, probably next week after the holiday weekend. And talk about where that puts Oklahoma's class, and then what's projected after that, because there's still a big recruiting weekend coming up at the end of July, like there always is. Sooners Under the Stars, I believe that one's called. So we'll talk more about him and the rest of how this recruiting class could go. Do you have any final thoughts on Cortez or even the rest of the recruiting class?
Just for the rest of the class, man. I mean, it's awesome to be where we're sitting right now. There's 20 in the class as of July 1st here. You're the number 5 overall recruiting class, and like you said, I mean, you've got that July event coming up, and you still got a whole summer to go. This class is only going to add more. Should only climb. The others are going to climb too. Like right now, Texas is sitting at 17. We know they're not going to end up at 17. There's some other guys out there who are gonna shoot up the rankings too, but you've got a realistic possibility for this class to finish inside that top 5, which is what we always talk about.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about CJ Nixon, but that's a guy that when we have talked about him in the past, like versatile athlete. His big thing is also adding on weight because he's going to be playing basketball and football. Obviously, in high school, he's going to finish off his basketball season next year, his senior season, so he won't even enroll until the summer. What is that going to look like for him? How he's obviously going to need to add on a lot of weight to get to play any amount of time as a freshman if he gets that opportunity. If he plays basketball at Oklahoma, how does that work out? Like, we haven't seen an athlete do that for OU at a high level, at least,
Yeah.
in a long time.
If only that. Yeah, we had that one kid try it a couple of recruiting classes ago. Maybe a transfer portal kid, the kid from Michigan. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he didn't work out for either sport.
But CJ could turn that around. It'll just be interesting how that works for him. But at the end of the day, big class for in-state recruiting. I think you've locked up almost everyone that is highly touted in the state of Oklahoma outside of Nate Roberts, who knows? Like, that recruitment's been up and down. Oklahoma doesn't really have a tight end in this class right now, and they might be looking for one. I know that the Trinae Washington, he's designated as an athlete, might be able to play tight end. We'll see. They might keep pursuing him if that's a possibility, and try to get everyone in the state of Oklahoma to stay in the state of Oklahoma. But again, we'll talk about all that and more later on as we get throughout the summer, because we've missed a lot, as I mentioned at the top of the show. But we're going to try to do a little bit of catch up there. Let's talk about the other big news that happened today, July 1st. Oklahoma officially a member of the SEC. A lot of coverage on it. I was on Twitter a lot of the day. Luckily my boss was not in the office today, so he didn't see me just scrolling on Twitter for the first hour of the morning. But got my work done. It was a lot of stuff happening. The Paul Feinbaum show was live from Norman for 4 hours. There was some celebrating going on in Tulsa as well. I saw Venables, Skip, Johnson. Patty was there as well. Went to Tulsa to do like a kickoff event down up there. So obviously, like, big news for the University of Oklahoma. Big news for really the state of Oklahoma. Even those that are OSU fans, like, this is going to benefit just the entire region and the state. Probably its economy. I don't know too much about that. I'm not going to pretend like I am an economist, but I'm sure that all that traveling to and from the state of Oklahoma is going to really benefit the state financially. What did you see? What was some of the stuff that really excited you about all the celebrations today outside of the merch? Because as soon as that stuff launched, I got on and tried to not spend $1,000 on all the stuff they dropped.
I mean, just everything about it, right? You start to see the videos that are posted. You see the SEC logos officially being stitched on jerseys and things of that nature. Yeah, it's all over the concourse of the stadiums. It's on all the jumbotrons. It's cool to see it because it's like it's finally real now. And granted, we knew it was going to be real for a long time, but we played a long waiting game here, and now it's here. It's real, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, the Paul Feinbaum show. He's a guy that we weren't very crazy about, and he was hating on everybody who's not in the SEC, and he's still going to do that. But it's just cool to see him bring his show to Norman. It was cool to see all the fans out there for the Brent Venables interview, the Patty Gasso interview. Like, we had a good showing for that. Just all the excitement around it is a lot of fun. And this senior football team plays football next month. It is July now, so it feels like it's 2 months away, but technically it's only a month away at this point. But I mean, it's a lot of exciting stuff going on in Norman right now. I wish I could have went to that event and just seen it and kind of just take it all in and experience it. Didn't do it. Should have, but didn't. There's a lot going on. It's a good time to be a Sooner fan.
Very good time. And you know what I found interesting today, obviously, like, it was awesome, but over the last couple of days, it seems like more and more clips of national media, college football specific media, little regional stuff, are talking about how Oklahoma really isn't the side chick in this addition to the SEC. Oklahoma should be considered the team. Not that Texas is bad, because obviously they made it to the college football playoffs, and we have a rivalry with them. These are two, as individual brands, big brands joining the SEC. But Oklahoma, as much as Texas likes to think they're the top dog in this situation, Oklahoma's coming in from the Big 12 winning 12 or 14 Big 12 championships, while Texas only had like 4, less than a handful. Like, Oklahoma is the proven program that knows how to win and to continue winning really throughout its history. I can't remember the guy's name on the SEC network during the Feinbaum show, but he's an analyst for the SEC network. OU alumni, big OU, obviously a big OU fan since he's an alum, and he mentioned like there was really just a small window of time where Oklahoma wasn't very good. It wasn't Oklahoma, but when you look at the history of Oklahoma, always winning. Maybe not always winning national championship like the dynasty of Nick Saban or what seems to be Kirby Smart's dynasty at Georgia right now. But at one point, that was Oklahoma with Barry Switzer at the helm. That was Oklahoma. That's how
Oh
Oklahoma
yeah,
was seen, like Nick Saban and Kirby Smart's teams now. So it's just a matter of getting back to that point. And Brent Venable seems to be that guy. Paul Feinbaum had a lot of good things to say about him, and that's one thing you and I were texting about with another friend. Paul Fein, it's nice to have that kind of guy on your side, because he's someone that's well respected in talking about college football. Um, but he was shitting on Lincoln Riley a lot, and it was funny to listen to. Like they directly said it, they indirectly shit on him too. And when you think back at it now, like he would talk shit about Oklahoma during Lincoln Riley's times, and I don't remember it. Maybe he talked shit about Oklahoma during Bob Stoops' era as well. But I vividly remember him always having something negative to say about Oklahoma while Lincoln Riley was at the helm. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. Now we know he was right. But
yeah,
when we were fans while he was a head coach, we thought had no idea what he's talking about. And Oklahoma was winning a lot. Outside of having a good defense, you could score at will. No one could stop them virtually. He ended up being right because look at where Oklahoma is now compared to the USC and Lincoln Riley's new place. Like Oklahoma, I think is way above what Lincoln Riley's currently able to do. I saw a post from like USC's message board on message board genius. Like USC's the new Nebraska. When USC fans thought that Oklahoma was going to be that, UT fans thought we were going to be that. UT fans aren't even excited about how good they're doing. They're more disappointed about how good Oklahoma's doing on the recruiting front. Like there's a lot of stuff happening where people are acknowledging how good Oklahoma is and how good of an addition that is to the conference.
yeah. No, the shitting on Lincoln Riley thing that was hilarious. I think they opened up with, or Paul did. He said something about like, he used to talk about imagine how good this Oklahoma team could have been if they had a defense or whatever. That was like his opening statement, and he was like, "Well, that's not the issue anymore. There seems to be building a defense." And then he's talking to Brent Venables and said something like, "It's also nice to have a coach who doesn't run away from the SEC," and that got a pretty good reaction from the crowd too. It's pretty cool to see that. But back to the whole thing you said about the side chick too, because I thought that was a good take you had. Oklahoma is by no means like you said. I mean, no disrespect to Texas because they're Texas and they're building something and they appear to be on track, at least in football, to be pretty good for the next couple of years. And I'm not saying that they're not going to be, but the last 10 Red Rivers, it's 7-3 OU. The last 15 is 11 out of 15. We, as you mentioned, the conference titles, we smoked them in our time in the Big 12. And then you look at other sports too. We hammered them in softball too the last 3 years for national titles. The baseball team beat them in the Big 12 championship on their title run. And they didn't win it, but they made the title game. Texas hasn't done that in baseball. I think neither school has done anything in basketball big, but yeah, we're by no means the second fiddle here. It looks that way because of the recency bias of them making the postseason and all that stuff. But it's not at all. If anything, they're behind us.
Yeah, and we're also starting to get a taste of what it's like already to be a member of the SEC. Where I mean, Skip Johnson was getting courted by A&M after they lost their head coach to Texas in baseball. Luckily, Oklahoma was able to keep him around, have him be the head coach and the guy to lead the baseball program to into the SEC and hopefully into a new era of Oklahoma baseball because they are a very good program. They were competing for the championship 2 years ago. They were making a pretty good run this year. I mean, we talked about it. Defense kind of kicked their ass. I know they were pretty good defensively, but then they just couldn't. They couldn't hit the ball very well there at the end. It was kind of the reverse of how they played all season. Somehow that's what ended up biting them in the ass. And then mean, Patty Gasso, I don't think anything was ever too serious, but felt like there was a little bit of rumor. I don't even know if they were real, but maybe her retiring or trying to move on to another program. Obviously, that's not happening. She's an Oklahoma legend, and if she did retire, I don't think anyone would be too angry because she's done a lot for Oklahoma softball, and especially over the last few years. Paul Feinbaum had a lot of good things to say about her, and
He
I
said
mean,
he fell in love with her. So I
he
mean, yeah,
did.
he shot a shot.
He did. Shoot or shoot. And then he even mentioned a five-peat. And who knows? I mean,
Well,
anything is possible under Patty.
yeah, with Patty Gasso, I'm pretty sure she needs one more national title to be the most winningest or with national titles. She would have the most national titles out of any college softball coach ever. So I don't think we're going to get a Patty retirement until we get at least one more national title. Because why would you not, when you're this close, to try to grab that? And then on Skip Johnson, I think, football's king. That's what we're all very excited about moving to the SEC, and that's in I think for the right reasons. It's an awesome sport. It's awesome. Everybody loves football. But I think if you're Skip Johnson, you've got to be probably the most excited out of any coach about this move to the SEC because he's doing a lot of things with that baseball program. I think they need more attention on them. And I think moving to the SEC where baseball is very competitive, very tough, you're going to go into some cool atmospheres, really cool stadiums. The fans care about it. And I think as Sooner fans, we care enough to not want to be showed up by everybody. So I think just moving to this conference is going to help them so much with upgrades to their stadiums, upgrades to their facilities, attendance. I think Skip Johnson has to be just super stoked about this.
Definitely. Like, it really is just crazy how much this change between conference means a lot. And obviously, like the motto or whatever for the SEC, it just means more. And I guess I've already bought into it. Less than 24 hours actually in this
Happens
conference
quick.
and being part of it, but it really does. Like you mentioned it, not just in football, because obviously like those atmospheres, it they're known for the fan bases and how much people show up to each and every football game, regardless of who the opponent is. But baseball, like that, wasn't really a thing in the Big 12, and maybe it's just because Oklahoma wasn't super good, but it didn't seem like it was really ever and still isn't a huge thing in the Big 12. You have your one-off programs where it does mean a little bit more to them to be good at baseball than others, but in the SEC, it seems like almost every school wants to be good at baseball. Every school wants to be good at softball. They just want to be good at everything. While in the Big 12, like you had Kansas as an example, they didn't really give a shit about being good at football until recently. They just wanted to be the basketball school, and that's fine. Like they were happy with that, and no one was ever going to challenge them because everyone was like, "All right, well, you'll just be our stepping stone, our free win for football. We'll take the L to you in basketball." But as Oklahoma fans and probably UT don't want to, but like they're Kansas basketball. That's just kind of what they're known for. That's not like that in the SEC. Every sport matters.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait to actually line it up and play SEC games and in all sports. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Obviously, a lot of exciting things happening over the next decade, 20 years, 50 years. I don't know if we're going to do that for this long, for that long, but we're going to talk about it over the next few months, at least over the next couple of years, hopefully, but it's going to be fun. And this football season is going to be really exciting. And hopefully we get to go to a lot of these games and meet some of you guys. Last time I went to a football game, ran into a few of the people that watch this show. I don't know why you watch it, but appreciated you for doing it and coming up and saying hi. And hopefully we can do that again this year.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Next month.
1 month away. We're going to start a countdown as of next episode, just because I got to do a little bit of math and titling this show is going to be difficult. But
we'll get it done.
Countdown is starting. Thank you guys all for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, follow us on all social media. It's linked in the description down below, and we'll see you next time.